Let's chat this morning. We're chatting real estate. Joe Cohen is with us. How are you this morning?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. So tell us a little bit about yourself, background in real estate.
Yeah. So, as we were talking a little bit before the show started, I started off with a career in radio. Have a face for radio.
I have a face for radio.
Yeah. So, shortly thereafter, I answered an ad in the newspaper in 2001, and they said that they were going to enter me into a licensing program. And lo and behold, I was good at it, so I stuck with it, and here I am today. So 2001 to current, I'm a real estate professional.
And the irony is I'm sure now that you've been doing this for over 20 years,
yeah,
you know that when they put that ad out there and they offer you an opportunity to get licensed.
Yeah.
Every company in their world is out there recruiting.
Yep.
And as long as you can fog a mirror, you can get a real estate license.
Well,
I say that I have one.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit I've had my real estate license for 9 years. I am not qualified to do a real estate transaction. But that goes with about 70% of the rest of the people that have real estate license.
Right.
Right.
Well, about a year ago, like you said, you just kind of had to have a heartbeat and you'd be able to get some deals. Right now, we're getting into the real grind where you actually have to pound the phones and get people on the phone and know what you're doing. Yeah.
Big difference.
Big difference.
And there's still a lot of people out there that just think, well, so when I get a real estate license, I get rich.
Yeah. It's not that easy.
It's a real job.
Yeah. The average real estate professional makes about $45,000 a year doing maybe 1 or 2 transactions a year.
Okay, but the question I would throw at you from that, is that what they net?
That's what they
or
net.
Is that what they gross? Because there's expenses involved.
Yeah, there's expenses involved, right? So a lot of times, I'm with EXP Realty, and a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, they have really good splits. Yes, they do. Are you independent or do you want to join a team? Well, if you're independent, what's your time worth, right? You're going to be out there pounding the pavement, spending the marketing, putting all the ads together, spending the gas to get to appointments. When you actually close that one deal, what's your actual net worth? It ends up being like around 45% after all the splits and the desk fees and everything of that nature, right? So that's why I belong to a team called Rock Real Estate Partners.
Okay.
And that allows me to worry about what I actually am good at, which is finding deals, getting people under contract, getting opportunities, right? Whereas my team now is worried about the marketing and they're helping me enhance my business. And I pay a 50% split for that. So it ends up working out in my favor.
And that's an interesting thing because most people don't understand how that works. But the thing that I think the average person could understand is how many rabbits can you chase at once, right? If you try to chase 4 rabbits at one time, how many are you going to catch? Probably none.
None.
Right? So you can spend your time going out there and meeting people and doing what you're good at.
Yep.
And I'm going to suggest most of us are not good at everything.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you try and do everything, you can be a jack of all.
Yeah.
Or jack of nothing.
Yeah. And I tried doing it on my own. It's hard.
Right.
There's a lot of costs involved, and then of course, as you
how
start,
do you keep up on everything that's the new
moving parts,
right?
A lot
exactly.
of moving parts.
The industry is always changing. People are always changing.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to this about many times, and I lead a lending team. It's we talk about that on Ron Siegel Radio all the time, and I've got a great team behind me, but I don't track. Last year, I haven't looked at it this year, but last year there was like 360 guideline changes just on the FHA loan.
Yeah. Wow. How do you keep up with that?
Right.
Yeah.
But there are people that do.
And you're just sitting there talking about what the previous guidelines were, and then they update them on you, and then it's up to your compliance to kind of keep you up
exactly.
to date, right?
And then you talk about, okay, now we've got Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and USDA and VA. There was just a change in VA guidelines last Friday. So you got to have a team, and the folks that go out there and one of my, I don't know your opinion on this, but I'm not a big fan of the agents that go out there and try and help the buyer and the seller both.
Yeah, there's a lot of liability when it comes to that. Now, don't get me wrong. If somebody says, Joe, I really like you and I really want you to represent me in the transaction, I'm going to do my best to be the fiduciary for both sides. But at the end of the day, that's why it's beneficial for me to have a team, because then I could say, well, let's bring in one of my team members
exactly
to give you the necessary, representation that you need.
Makes it a little better that way. Because how do you your sellers, your job with the seller is to maximize their return or their goals.
Right.
Right. Because sometimes it's not about price. They've got different goals.
Right.
So maybe whatever their goals are.
Right.
And the job for the buyer's agent is to maximize whatever their goals are.
Exactly.
Right. Might be the payment might be their issue. It might be that they're more concerned about the price of the property, which I don't know why they are, because it's more about the payment.
Well,
unless they're paying cash.
And really negotiating that due diligence period, because what we found over the last couple of years in this industry is that we got the seller's market forced the buyer to buy deals that they couldn't kick the tires. Right?
Sure.
And so your buyer's agent really needs to kind of be strong in that and make sure that they're getting you into that contingency period where you can actually go in, do your inspections, perform your due diligence, check the permitting, check the square footage, and make sure it's a good deal that you're buying into. And if you have the dual agent or the person representing the listing agent also representing the buy side, you could put yourself in a bad situation.
Could be. I want to talk to you about the idea, because when you talk about the idea of kicking the tires and where we were a couple of years ago. Are we heading back there?
Absolutely.
I want to talk to you about that when we come back. Continue our conversation. Joe Cohen is with us. He's with eXp Realty. And he said also Rock Real Estate Partners.
That's right.
Okay. So you made a comment in the last segment, Joe, that I want to dig into a little bit. So in 2020 and 2021, real estate values were increasing at dramatic pace.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw out there an unhealthy pace.
Yeah. Right around 17%.
Right. Can't keep up with that.
Yeah.
And in order to win a property, in order to win a bid, for those people that did not follow the guides we provide you at Ron Siegel Radio, because I show you how to win a bid right there, people are doing things that may not have been the most prudent.
Right.
Right. They were waiving a lot of contingencies on home inspections and appraisals.
Appraisal, yeah.
And a lot of issues.
Paying over the appraised value.
Paying over appraised value. And I'm not saying that's bad, because those people actually won the property.
Right.
Right. They got a property that they wanted. And, over time, they're going to come out ahead in most instances.
Yeah. If you're in it for the long play, right?
Right. If you're in it for the long term, you're going to come out ahead on that. So if as we suspect, interest rates drop, are we going to get back into that same situation next year?
More than likely. It's been nice over the last year and a half to be able to say, okay, I'm going to bring this qualified buyer to you, and we're going to look at the property. We're going to do some due diligence, and we're going to say, check under the hood, so to speak. Whenever we do a buyer representation, we go in and we perform sewer line inspections, because nobody pays attention to the sewer line.
That's right? A big one right there.
We go in and we do full home inspections. We look at the electrical. We look at the plumbing. We look at the roof, the age of the roof, especially now with homeowners insurance being so difficult. It's very important that you guys are checking out the roof, because if it hasn't been redone in the last 20 years, you might not be able to get a standard insurance policy, which is going to increase your debt to income ratio.
And if you do get that policy, the renewal may come with a stipulation. They need to get a new roof before you can
renew. Exactly. So it's important now more than ever that we stick to our guns with these due diligence periods, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where all of a sudden, once you've paid over the appraised value, and now you have to have a $20,000 roof, or now you have to have a $15,000 sewer line that you have to replace, or maybe you have to repipe the entire house. So these are all things that if you have a really strong buyer's agent, that they can actually negotiate for you in the price, right? Now, let's talk about the rate decrease. What that's going to do is it's going to cause a frenzy, right? And people are going to be like, nope, if you want this house, you have to pay over, and you can't come in and inspect it. You're taking it as is, where is, right? Well, if you haven't noticed, most contracts are always as is, where is, but that doesn't mean that I can't still ask for a credit for repair.
Well, the other part of that is, even if it's as is, where is, would you recommend somebody still having a home inspection done?
100%. Because you have to, even if you want to buy it for as is, where is, you still need to know what you're getting into, right?
Sure.
You can plan for that and say, okay, I don't have to do it today, but I know in the next 5 years I'm going to have to do this.
So you have a contingency plan for it.
Exactly.
So I'm going to share with you because we did this, and I believe wholeheartedly, I completely concur with what Joe said, is interest rates coming down is going to create a storm of buyers.
Yep. They're going to flood the market.
They're going to flood the market. And what's going to happen, there's been a lot of pent up demand because people are saying, okay, I can't afford that 8% loan.
Yep.
And now we're down, in the sevens, but they couldn't afford that. We're getting more and more buying power. We're going to come out with a piece later today or tomorrow on that. But if you want to know how to get your offer accepted, rsrperfectoffer.com. rsrperfectoffer.com. We actually show you how to get the offer. And I'm not a real estate guy. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a radio guy. But I understand people. So if I know, Joe, that I don't get a vote. If my wife wants this property.
Yeah.
And I know that I've got to go, there's multiple people bidding. If I go in there with my eyes wide open, knowing that I'm paying more than the property value, I've probably got a better chance than somebody that's not paying more than property value.
Correct.
Right? The seller wants to maximize their return.
Their goal is to net the most.
Right. So if I know what I'm doing, which in the rsrperfectoffer.com we take a look and say, okay, what if we give the seller 3 months worth of appreciation up front?
There you go. That's creative.
Right. But we understand how to do that, right?
Right.
And there's nothing against that. Now, what if we add another 5% on there and say to the seller, hey, would you give me that money back? I'm going to give you 3 months, add another 5%. You give me that money back as far as buying down my payment.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Doing a seller credit for closing costs.
To buy down the interest rate.
For the
permanent buy down for the interest rate.
Yeah.
And then we put in there an appraisal gap program. So we've got everything covered to kind of make sure we get the property.
But you're still protecting your interests.
Right.
Yeah.
And get an aggressive payment.
Yep.
So we do a lot of those different things just to help consumers because I can't help the consumer with finding the property. That's your job.
That's it.
Right?
Yep.
You're going to go out there and find them the dream home, but now you got to be able to afford it.
Yeah. And, something that I do with my clients in particular, because, a primary focus of mine is to buy distressed properties and then fix them up and then sell them for a profit. I do that through JSC Real Estate Investments. But ultimately, I like to train my new buyers how to think like a rehabbing investor, because a lot of people want to go put themselves in the pool of the turnkey home. They don't want to do the repairs. They don't want to have to, walk into a house that has icky carpet or, maybe smoke on the walls from the elderly person who's been smoking in their house for years. But there's gold in that distress, right? There's you're automatically forcing the appreciation. You're getting it at a discounted rate, and you're able to go in and live in it. It's called a house hack, right? You actually go in, live in it, fix it up while you're living in it. And then ultimately, when you go back to do that refinance, you've now enhanced your value exponentially and given yourself a better loan to value. And now you're able to capitalize on a better interest rate as well.
So I'm concerned about that one a little bit because I want to get your input on. Actually, we're gonna have to do that when we come back.
Okay.
Because Josh will be ready to throw something at me. But I want to talk to you about that house hack. Continuing our conversation, we're talking to Joe Price this morning. He's with Rock Real Estate Partners, part of eXp Realty. Joe, I want to talk to you about this part because in the last segment, and if you missed it, shame on you. You're going to have to go back and we're not going to recap it. But you're talking about those folks that buy properties that need some love.
Yeah.
And, we're going to be doing a show tomorrow. And it's based on a Yahoo Finance article where Zillow's founder, Spencer Raskoff, finds the real estate sector unapproachable and complex, is what he says, which is why this is the only real estate investment in his portfolio. So he does not invest really in real estate.
Oh, wow. That's unfortunate for him.
Well, and I'm going to throw this out there because there's a lot of folks. So I was licensed with Merrill Lynch for many, many years. And we found a lot of folks underperform the market because they're chasing and they're trying to, they think that everything looks easy.
Right.
And I'm going to suggest these shows on TV are very, very misleading.
Correct.
Because they make it look like, you go and you buy a house and they always have the same error in every show. My wife likes watching them. That's the only reason I even have them on.
Yeah.
right? They didn't know they were going to find that there was a sewer problem, like you just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
or that the electrical panel needed replaced. And I didn't notice a line item when they did all of their budgeting.
Right.
They didn't put a line item in there for unknown contingencies.
Yeah.
Do you put a line item in there for unknown contingencies when you do them?
Absolutely, because we want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't do that on TV.
Yeah, they don't.
It just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So what my concern is a lot of folks get into this. They follow something that looks real nice and easy on TV, and it's not nearly as easy as it looks.
Well, if they, what's the saying? If it was easy, everybody be doing it,
Right.
right? But ultimately, it's just about making sure that you understand and put your trust in the professionals that are going to help you go down that path and achieve your goal. But when it comes to identifying a property, what I always like to say is if you want to put yourself in a big pond with a bunch of fish, you're probably going to overpay for the piece of real estate. So let's put ourselves in the smaller ponds where nobody's fishing, right?
Makes sense. Sure.
And so that's why we actually end up, guiding them down towards, there's legacy owners in our market right now. There's people that have owned their home since it was practically built, or
Sure.
maybe they're a second owner. And they have a lot of equity built into that. Their homes are paid off. But they don't know how to tap into the resources. You talk about credit. Maybe they don't have good credit to where they can get a good loan to fix up the house, or they just don't have the knowledge to be able to do that. So we actually go around and trying to find those opportunities, so that way we can bring those opportunities to our buyer pool. And then we put them in that home and tell them that it's not as difficult as you think, because we're aligned with contractors, we're aligned with handymen, and so we bring those people to the table.
Bring the resources out there.
Absolutely.
So in those situations, obviously there are various renovation loans out there that are available for that.
Yeah, you have
Right.
the FHA 203B, 203K,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And that's a really good program, because they actually allow you to do the repairs without having to make the payment, right? It's up to, you get 6 months of payment relief, so that way you can fix the house up and then move in, right?
Absolutely. And using your service there,
Mm-hmm.
it helps a lot, because one of the biggest challenges on a lot of those loans is it's got to be, you can't do sweat equity is not allowed.
Right.
Right. You have to use a licensed contractor. How many of us really know a licensed contractor?
Not many.
Right. So you need to have that expert out there. And the other thing is the expertise of knowing, something, a secondary bathroom is going to cost about $5,000, and a primary bathroom is going to cost about $10,000, and a
Right.
kitchen's going to, you guys could probably eyeball these things and have a good idea.
Yeah, because we're doing fix and flips all the time. So we know exactly what the cost per square foot is based off of the last, 10 projects that we did, right?
Sure.
So we go in and we analyze those deals for our buyer pool, and then we help them feel comfortable about making that educated decision going into that. Because most people look at it as it's a thorn, right? It's a thorn in my side. I'm not going to be able to do this. But it's a mindset for us. We want to train you how to look at this opportunity as a lump of coal that's going to turn into a diamond.
Absolutely. And we've talked about many times, this is a great way of building family wealth,
Generational wealth.
Absolutely. So the idea here, my thinking is you get that property, you do it with that renovation loan or other types of programs that are out there.
And you could do that for up to 4 units.
Right.
Right. So you can actually live in one unit and fix the other units up, rent those out, and now somebody's paying your mortgage for you.
And then more than that is, wait a couple of years and go buy another one and rent the single unit that you were living in.
Yep.
Because that is an owner-occupied property.
Exactly.
But now go out and do it again and be the owner-occupier of the next one.
Yep.
So you've got that great loan that you're on your departing property.
Yeah.
Right?
I just put somebody into a triplex not too long ago, and it was a doctor. He was sacrificing the area that he was living in because he wanted to get into the market. He knew that the only way that he was going to be able to get into the market with low down payment was to go live in an area that might not be the highest desired area, but he's going to sacrifice for a year and move into that. And now he's cash flowing on 2 units, and he's already calling me back to start and find another property.
That's the way to do it. So he's going to help. He's building his medical practice and his real estate empire.
Yep.
All at the same time, because he needs a roof over his head.
That's right.
And he probably doesn't like the idea of using the Coleman over his head as opposed to a brick and mortar roof.
Correct.
Right. So if you want more information on this, if this sounds intriguing to you, give me a call at 800-306-1990. We'll put you in touch with Joe Cohen and his team over there at Rock Real Estate Partners. Find that diamond in the rough because they're out there. You just have to know where to look or hire somebody that knows where to look so you don't have to do it. Share the wealth, right? If you can make a little bit of the pie as opposed to no pie. Yeah, that's how I got to be this size. Just throw that out there.